Welcome to the Audience Converter Podcast, the podcast for converting your audience from strangers to loyal fans. We dive deep and discuss how entrepreneurs, consultants, and coaches can level up their business to help more people in the world. Now here's your host, the creator of the Audience Conversion Method, Kimberly Weitkamp.
Are you tired of the chaos, uncertainty, pivots, and oh so many changes from 2020? It's time to hit the reset button. Use those changes and pivots and all of the chaos, and it's time to leverage it into sustained success for 2021 and beyond. Join me and over 15 experts in the Biz Reset for 2021 Summit, where we're diving into the topics of marketing, management, mindset, and money, and discovering how to leverage all of the changes of the last year into sustained success for 2021 and beyond. Check it out at theaudienceconverter.com/summit and grab your free ticket today. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Audience Converter Podcast. I'm Kimberly Weitkamp, your host, conversion copywriter, and marketing strategist. And today we're really going to dive into the idea of, being an entrepreneur, but making sure that being an entrepreneur doesn't put a stop to making sure you can live that dream life that you had in mind when you became an entrepreneur. We're not talking about balance, if you will. We're talking about how do you make sure to build that liberating lifestyle so that you can be close to family, build the business you want, and have the life that you're looking for. And of course, I'm so excited today to have a good friend of mine, Dockhorn. He is going to be our guest for today. Uwe is known as the Lifestyle Liberator, so a great person to have on. He's delivered more than 15,000 one-on-one coaching sessions and strongly believes in freedom and internal certainty that shows up in your business financially and emotionally in your relationships. He focuses on helping medical professionals, executives, entrepreneurs, and most importantly, their VIPs, the very important partners in their life, to stop putting themselves at the end of their priority list or feeling abandoned. He's also the founder of the $1 million sentence, the anti-burnout system, and co-founder of Systemic Business Design. So I am so excited to have Uwe here and talking with all of us today. Uwe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on your show, Kim. Thanks so much.
Well, we're super excited to have you. And, we're just going to dive right on in because so many things that I just mentioned in that introduction are really powerful. I can't wait to hear about, the $1 million sentence, the anti-burnout system, but most especially about making sure that freedom and internal certainty shows up financially and emotionally. That's such a powerful tool for all of us. So, my first question for you, Uwe, is can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an entrepreneur? What was your path, your journey to doing what you're doing?
Well, thank you for the question. So you see, I want to, if that's okay, I want to dive a little bit deeper here and really go where it all started. And, you see, it was when I was 28, I definitely found myself standing at the edge of a bridge and I was ready to let go. I didn't believe in any kind of certainty, uncertainty, or better known as chaos, was my life. So all I ever wanted as a young boy was to have answers to three simple questions. Who am I? What do I love to do? And why am I here? But instead, I found myself standing on a bridge, desperate enough to let go. At the age of 10, I was sexually abused and never told anyone until I was 30, even my mother. I had reached the end of my rope and saw no solution inside me. I was addicted to alcohol and even drugs to compensate for what wasn't there. After my father died, I had become isolated and separated from friends and lost my job. I was overwhelmed, suffered from physical and emotional exhaustion, and felt there was no reason for being in this world. I was burned out, and struggling with who I was. I believed I can't feel. I was convinced that I could not feel anything. And the truth was, I didn't feel anything. I was numb. And that's when I found myself on the edge of that bridge. And I remember, you see, it was a crystal clear but bitterly cold winter night. And I was watching the stars, breathing the chilled air in and out. And I could see my breath as I slowly leaned forward. I let go. But at that moment, something happened. While everything else was pitch black inside and out, I saw a tiny little light inside me. And then I felt it. Something that had been sitting right under my nose, but because I hadn't been able to feel, I couldn't perceive it. I cried heavily. I could feel again. I couldn't believe it first, but there it was. I'm feeling. For the very first time since my father had died 5 years before that, I felt something inside me on that bridge. And it drew me back from jumping. You know, that night, I learned an important lesson, what I now call elephant thinking. Broadly, there are moments in your past when you have what feels like an extraordinary incident, and in your confusion, you programmed yourself with thoughts that start like, I don't trust, or I don't belong. And there are thousands of others, of course. You know, it took me 20 years of continuous personal development to create a system of liberating lifestyles. That's my proprietary work that creates lasting results in people in 8 hours or less. And this is the one surprising secret that is worth sharing with the world. But almost no one in the industry of mindset techniques, personal transformation, and even preventative health is focusing on. Letting go is only 50% of the equation. Without the other half of the equation, letting go leaves you in free fall. So what if I tell you the other 50% after you let go is to feel, perceive, and let in what is already there? It's like a muscle. Letting go and letting in, it's a two-part mechanism, and it happens at the same time always. We are so focused on letting go that we miss the opportunity to consciously bring in what is there in that very moment to help you to get into action and do things differently. So it's all about letting go and letting in. And it's that two-part mechanism, and it happens at the same time always. And this is what happened to me. That day on the bridge changed my life so profoundly, turning hopelessness into something that you mentioned earlier, that most people never feel in their lives. Control, freedom, and certainty. It saved my life that day, and it saved my relationship with my mother, my family. And that is how you can protect your family in a better and more holistic way, and also become a better leader in your business, with this deep certainty of control and freedom. And that, especially in times like these, is the crucial key for a liberating lifestyle for you and your loved ones.
So many things to uncover in that. So Uwe, I do want to, thank you for sharing your path and your journey. I always have this feeling that so many of us are operating as entrepreneurs, as community leaders, thinking there's only one way and there's only the right way to do something. There's only one particular path. And that's why I always ask my guests, that's the first question I ask them is, how did you get to doing what you're doing? Because I've heard so many stories about the different paths, and you have a very rocky path for sure to doing what you're doing. But, you found that purpose, you found that connection, and you are on a mission to help others figure that out as well so that they don't get to that edge. And that's why I'm so excited to, dive in and get a little bit more information about, the liberating lifestyle and how you don't have to prioritize one part because your whole life is your whole life.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. So, and I was growing up in a household. We had a coffee shop, in the hospitality business. And just right from the beginning, I was kind of like in the mindset of an entrepreneur. But still, these three questions were always missing in my life. And with all that backstory, I always came back to being an entrepreneur. I think I can really counted on one hand how many years I was in a corporate job, so to say. So it was really kind of like, living also in that certainty that my family has shown me all my life, all my young life, so to say. And I really appreciated that I had this time, because there was, as you were saying, rocky life, ups and downs all the way. And it took me really until I'm up to my 40s, really over 12 years now ago, where I absolutely found my true why I'm here, my true purpose. And this is what I'm doing right now. I'm working as the one-on-one premium coach that I am today, and helping families in that regard.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that many of us kind of struggle with, is defining that why, or figuring out exactly why we're here to do what we're doing. And I liked your approach about, your liberating lifestyle, especially with, it's not just about freedom, and it's not just about certainty, and it's not just about business, and it's not just about emotions. Everything kind of plays together and pulls together. So can you dive in a little bit to what your definition of a liberating lifestyle is, and how people might start building that?
Well, it's, we have to dive in, and I always tell my clients that, there are more than just the personal and the business side of things. So actually there are 7 areas in life, and there are 7 foci also in each of these areas. So it's kind of like, really creating that foundation for yourself to live a liberating lifestyle in all 7 areas. And let me just tell them to you. The 7 areas are the spiritual, the intellectual, the psychological, the social, the professional, the recreational, and the physical area. So in all these areas, I help my clients to liberate their lifestyle. And, actually, it's really about letting go of, what was in their way in their past, and learn to let in something that they want to change for their future. And the only way, we all know, in doing that is in the present. So essentially bringing the awareness to the moment that is right in front of you, and being capable of letting go and letting in something else, that you can. Yeah, typically, it's always sitting right under our noses, but, we're just so blind to not seeing it, because we're so focused, as I mentioned earlier, on the past and what carries us down. But most people don't realize that, and it's not their fault, because we haven't been taught about that there is this other, the other 50% of that equation, which is key here. So to liberate your lifestyle, you start, with yourself, with what I call the elephant thinking. And essentially that means, false beliefs that you carry with yourself. And we identify the core elephant. It's kind of like the first domino piece that started all this in your past. And, over time you started to believe that's true, what the truth is, it was just a reaction to something that happened to you in your past. In my past, as I said, my sexual abuse, and as a consequence, I started to believe I cannot feel. And that was my core belief at that time. So I had to take all these years, just to get to the realization that, letting go and letting in something else liberated not only my lifestyle, but also, my family life, and so on. It also liberated me in choosing, becoming the entrepreneur that I'm today. So it really goes back, how to deal with your past in the present, so your future can be different.
That is something that I don't hear a lot, right? We pretty much do define life as personal and professional. And then, you've got people who argue for, well, if you do what you love, then there's really no separation between personal and professional. You have people who argue you need balance. You have people you need integration. But this idea that there are 7 different areas of life, and they kind of all intertwine, but they also kind of all have their own background and their own tools that you need to use to make that section liberated. I love that idea of, there's more to life than just work and not work, right? So many of us kind of get stuck in that mentality of, well, the only way to be successful, the only way to live the life we want to live is for work to be exactly what we want it to be.
Exactly. And, many just do it's not their fault. It's really, they're so used to this dogma, I would say, to work and life balance. So, but there's more to it. And as you just said, absolutely. And I believe that, not only from my experience, but, on a daily basis with all my clients over the last 12 years, that has been shown that, when you are in a situation that, you always change between work and life. So that just limits yourself. And it all comes back to really how I define personal development. And in my definition, per my definition, and coming from my experience, there are 3 stages in personal development. And it all starts with when we are born. So essentially we come to this world and we are absolutely dependent on everything. So we need to be fed, we need to be clean, and repeat. But every day we are stepping and evolving and, making, just from crawling, going, standing up, and then we can start to walk, then we can start to run. And with each step that we evolve, we are getting closer to the next level and to the next stage, and that is our independence. And how many can say that they absolutely feel 100% independent and free? And as I was saying earlier, can you feel, being in control and having the freedom and having an internal certainty? So you can make decisions independently, and not many can say that. And that is why this is so important. And that is just the second stage. But then when you finally have reached that second stage, that you are independent, and then of course you can say, okay, I don't need anybody. That's one way in seeing that. But on the other side, at one point you really want to live your life not alone. You want to live your life with someone who is special to you. And so then, of course, you get in a relationship and all that. So, and the ideal version of a relationship would be what will be the third stage, and that is the interdependent stage. And on that stage, it's kind of like, when you are both independent, that's the ideal way or perspective to it. But of course, not many are there, because as we know, many are codependent, and in relationships, mostly partners, the one is more dependent on the other than itself. But I'm just telling you, that's an ideal solution that can be reached, that can be achieved. So to be eye to eye, really respectfully on the same level, and supporting each other with their own independence and freedom, but also, kind of like willingly to be dependent on your partner, but coming from the independence that, sets your own life free, but coming together, because, it's just more fun to being together, of course. But with the high achievers, what they experience over time, and with these in-demand professionals that I work with, there's an increasingly growingly dynamic happening. So the dynamic shifts that the provider of such a high achiever family is more ahead, or the spouse at home feels, what's he doing? So what's about my life? What about me? And, more and more they feel abandoned. So that is where the shift is happening. And when, most of the time the problems arise. And that's what I do is so different than anybody else is focusing on, because I help them both, but I'm not a counselor. I'm a one-on-one coach. I coach them separately. And over time, they come and see and get into their own independence, and then we bring it together. And then that's what they always love. And I always get goosebumps when I'm talking about this, because it's so emotional, because they understand, oh, that's why you are triggering me with that, and I'm triggering you with that. And they have this opportunity to grow closer again, together again. And they love this.
I love what you're talking about with, kind of guiding people both separately, and then they can kind of see where it works together. Because, what we talked about is you've done over 15,000 hours of the one-to-one, but you've still kind of built this community around your perspective and your ideas of the liberating lifestyle. So before we get to our final questions here, I just want to ask really fast, what kind of methods do you use, or, where are you finding that you are kind of finding your community, and then the tools that you're using to reach your community? So, a lot of people have this idea that the only way for you to be successful, for example, as a coach, is you must go the group route, but you do one-on-ones, and that's pretty much where you are. So can you share a little bit with us about, what tools you use to find and convert your audience and community?
Yes, absolutely. So mostly when I was starting out 12 years ago, I was just working around in my network, in my personal network. And then, of course, after I started working with my clients, and it became so successful. My one-on-ones it's I'm a systemic coach, so I'm a trained systemic coach, and therefore, at one point, people loved what I do. What I did and with them, and so they referred me. So, and for most of my time, it was really a referral system that each client referred me to another one, and so this just became the way to go. But of course, there are ups and downs of that, and I tried also to bring that one-on-one experience into a group coaching context. So, but it's tough, and you use your social media and all that. But I recently found that having a podcast is the best way in doing that, and so it's really about creating a different kind of atmosphere, kind of like the atmosphere we are in right now. People are listening, coming together to listen, and I always compare this to just having or being gathered around a campfire where you can come to and feel comfortable around, and so you can listen to each other. And I think that is important in the line I do, in the line of work I do. So therefore, I think I've just recently found that podcast is the best way for me and my line of work. I can invite people to, listen and have a deeper conversation, just like you having with me right now, and but also be shown to other people around, to your network, so that they can learn about me. So I think it's always important, and the funny thing is that the one-on-one is for a reason. So that's really my true why. So I'm feeling that I'm a coach, and I'm working at my best when I'm one-on-one. So therefore, it just makes so sense for me to have a podcast where you are one-on-one with each other, and have the possibility to dive deeper. So, and I also do workshops where I can have a small amount of people and invite them to demonstrate what success stories and case studies there are, so they can really get closer to that. And it's not salesy in anything. It's really valuable to them so they can have a well-informed decision about working with me together after that.
So many great gems in there. And one of the things I really love that you said is that, podcasting is a way for you to have that one-on-one conversation, but in a way that reaches a lot of people, right? Because just like any really great marketing material that you talk about, your episodes, your conversations, they're one-on-one, right? They're to one person. Even if you're doing a solo episode, you're talking to one person in your head. You've kind of got that idea in your mind. So, podcasting is a great tool. Obviously, I love podcasting. I'm a podcaster as well. And Uwe does have an amazing podcast. It's called Lift Off with Energy Results. Do be sure to go check that out. So Uwe, we are almost out of time. So what would you say is your one big action item after listening to this and figuring out that, we don't have to steal from one part of our lives to make the other part successful, that we can have that freedom and certainty in all 7 areas of our life? What is the one big action step people need to take?
Well, it always comes down, and this is what I call a universal tool, is letting go and letting in, and not missing the other 50%, because all the energy and the energizing results that I deliver for my clients are hidden in these other 50%. So, because we're so focused on letting go, so therefore you miss the opportunity what is already there. So my advice in that regard would be, just be open to see what else is there in that very moment. When you try so hard to let go of something, just turn internally around and ask yourself, so hey, if I just let go of that, what else is there? And just be open and feel, perceive, and then be able to receive what is there and express that.
That's a really great approach to have. And it seems like it's a simple step, but it's definitely a step that takes time, but you can get started like right now, which is always great. So Uwe, if people want to learn more about you and what you do and exactly what the $1 million sentence is, because we didn't get to it today, where can they find you?
By just my website, it's uwedockhorn.com. And you find more about me and my work, and anything else just goes from there.
And for our non-German speaking audience, Uwe is actually UWEDOCKHORN.com. Of course, that link will be in the show notes as well. And if you have resonated at all with, the way Uwe approaches, building a liberated lifestyle, do be sure to check out uwedockhorn.com. And, we've talked a little bit as well about making sure that you've got that one person in mind when doing any kind of marketing material, and how the one-on-one can be scaled even if you're sticking to the one-on-one experience. So if you're looking for information and are interested in making sure that you've got a solid plan in place for creating your marketing, do be sure to check out theaudienceconverter.com/missing-key-ditch-launch. I have got to make a shorter URL for all of you. And of course, that link will as well be in the show notes. And we'll talk a little bit on that masterclass on how to create your 12-month marketing strategy so that you can spend more time doing what you're doing what you're great at, like Uwe does with helping people on that one-on-one situation, and helping people do the one-on-one training separately, and then they can find the way that comes together and ditching that elephant thinking. So Uwe, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show, for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me, Kim. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Fantastic. Do be sure to check out all of the links in the show notes. And until next time, keep calm and carry on.
Thanks for listening to the Audience Converter Podcast. For more information and important links about today's show, or for access to our website, visit theaudienceconverter.com. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.